Diddy, as known as P. Diddy, as known as P. Daddy, as known as Love, as known as Brother Love, and was born as Sean Crumbs, is in deep trouble not only with state law but also with federal law. Today I'm going to share the charges against him, the most recent news, what's circulating in the media about him. And in the end, I want to share my psychological analysis of his personality.
The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice. Let me say a little bit more about the charges. The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways. As alleged, Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers, some of whom he transported or caused to be transported over state lines. Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed.
I want to pause here and mention that ketamine, GHB, and ecstasy, all these three are considered date drugs. And if you have watched Baby Reindeer on Netflix, the guy who was exploiting the younger guy for his comedy career was using the same three drugs, because GHB is usually given so people lose their memory. Ketamine is an anesthetic, and LSD causes euphoria and increased libido. So these three are perfect cocktails to be used when someone is committing these sexual crimes.
To the victims to keep them obedient and compliant. As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair. On one occasion in March of 2016, that conduct was captured on video and later reported in the media. Specifically, Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a victim in a Los Angeles hotel when the victim was attempting to flee. As alleged, these assaults often resulted in injuries to the victims, which took days or weeks to heal. In addition to the violence, the indictment alleges that Combs threatened and coerced victims to get them to participate in the freak-offs. He used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as collateral against the victims. And the indictment alleges that he
was using those recordings to blackmail his victims. So these are some very serious allegations against him. Most of you may have known that Diddy's parties were very, very famous. Even some of the celebrities, including LeBron James, have made these statements. But these freak-offs happen after those parties. They were after parties or after parties. They lasted for days. I just watched one of the TikTok about Justin Bieber's one of the song's lyrics, and it's making so much sense now. So I cannot share the song. I'm just going to share the lyrics because of copyright. He just said everything basically.
Diddy actually needs to be locked up for his entire life for doing this. Police seized over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant among various freak-off supplies from Diddy's house. He would have people come over his house and participate in these 1v1 freak-offs that he would record, and then he would use that footage as blackmail against them to get them to do whatever he wanted. Just for reference, this is over 1,000 water bottles, and a baby oil bottle is probably the same size, maybe even bigger than these. What is the obsession with baby oil? To have over 1,000 bottles would mean that literally every single time one of these events would happen, he demanded that everyone be oiled up. And he made damn well sure that he would never run out of baby oil. That is just diabolical.
One of the comment is really funny, the most liked comment. Diddy was single-handedly keeping Johnson & Johnson in business. Seems like it. He was the biggest customer for sure. Even those having multiple babies, I'm pretty sure no one was using that much oil. Diddy grew up in a tough environment in Harlem, New York. When he was only 2 years old, his father was killed. That must be very devastating for him as a young child. Growing up without a father, it must have deeply impacted him. Losing a parent at such a young age can create insecurities in a child and need to gain power and control things as an adult. And his deep drive to succeed can be to gain all that power that he felt he didn't have as a child. On social media, it is circulating that he may have narcissistic traits, and it is very possible. Before I dive into psychology of Diddy, I want to say that I've never met him, so all of these are my speculations. It seems like power and control excites him. That's why he was recording all of those sexual acts, and he was manipulating everyone. He was in charge of so many people. So it seems like he's really hungry for power, control, and dominance. And a lot of time I see in psychopaths, actually in psychiatry, psychopaths are diagnosed as antisocial personality disorder. Commonly, it is called psychopath. So I'm going to just use psychopath. Ted Bundy is a very good example of a psychopath. They are different than people with narcissistic personality disorder. However, these both disorders, antisocial personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder, are part of cluster B personality disorders. They both have like no empathy for their victims and they don't feel bad. They both want to dominate and manipulate the victims, but antisocial personality disorder or psychopaths are much worse than narcissistic personality disorder because they are frequently involved in illegal acts and they can go to any extent to get what they want. One other very important trait these people have is that they are very charismatic and they use their charisma to manipulate other people. The difference between people who have narcissistic traits versus antisocial traits is that people with narcissistic traits use other to get their need for validation and admiration. People with antisocial tendencies, they don't care about validation or admiration. Their needs are dominating others, controlling others, abusing others, or maybe sexually manipulating others, but they don't have a need for admiration or validation. But seems like Diddy has both of those needs. He needs to exert power and dominance on his victims, as well as he has a need to be admired and liked, and that's how he was getting his validation. In the end, I want to share some text that my friend sent me, and we were discussing Diddy's situation. So he said, also ask yourself this question: are black men criminalized more than their white counterparts? Diddy most certainly is guilty of despicable acts. We don't know, but the evidence against him seems very strong. These are all allegations. He's not convicted yet. But you don't think Trump did similar ? Bill Clinton's ? I just wanted to share these tags to have some conversation in the comment section. Let me know what you think.